this first ordinary session of the National Decentralization Board for the year 2020. Prime Minister Joseph Diongute and members of the board examined the financial, judicial and infrastructural conditions to be fulfilled for a smooth implementation.
Concerning the financial aspect, we have to prepare the budgets that will allow the councils to have their meetings. We are working with the Ministry of Finance and we think that the money is already available.
The United Cities and Councils of Cameroon expressed the need to see improvements in the devolution of powers to councils.
We will continue to ask our government to give the tools that can accelerate our decentralization.
Prime Minister Joseph Diongute at the end of the session gave instructions for the initiation of enabling texts for some articles of the Decentralization Code, the consideration of regions during the drafting of the 2021 state budget, the drawing up of a plan for the setting up of regional institutions, as well as the acceleration of the drafting of texts on the setting up of the regional public service.
The devolution of competencies to local authorities is an important component in the fast-tracking of the decentralization procedure in the country. Since 2014, the partial transfer of funds have been unable to trigger local developments expected by the population. Tonight, Constantin Baum looks at the role of mayors in this process who demand more autonomy and adequate resources.
1996 was a year when decentralization was included in the constitution, but the laws of 2004 on the orientation and rules of application transferred some competencies to mayors.
Infrastructure like road, energy and water help our education community.
Hospitals, we make to have water for us, for community, because it's that our population means.
Those actions fall under Act 1 of the process, which never really touched the lives of the population. Many disappointments came up related to the functioning of councils and the delay in the entry into service of regions.
Must be effectively followed by means of action, which are still limited. I think that decentralization should be visible by through achievements that can improve the framework.
For the process to be effective, mayors must be very close to other stakeholders in the community for greater citizen participation.
In the middle, our role is to see what are the needs of the population and what are the means which are to be given by the government. So we receive financial resources and we try to adapt them to the question of our population.
Many of them are waiting for the full implementation of Act 2 of decentralization that instituted the General Code of Regional and Local Authorities, as it is a decisive milestone to boost social progress and local development.
Now on to the December 6th regional election. One of the aspects that is exciting in the poll is the involvement of traditional rulers who will be part of the representatives. With 20 custodians of tradition expected to be voted in each region, there is a strong feeling that the aspirations of their people will be adequately addressed. Ebenezer Akanga reports on their state of preparedness.
A peculiarity of the regional council elections of December 6, 2020 is that traditional rulers will also elect their peers into the councils. A total of 200 representatives of traditional rulers will be elected across the national territory, with 20 per region. The battle will be tough in constituencies with 2 or more lists. Mfundi division in the central region is one of them.
There are 2 lists in competition. Even if we are traditional rulers, we are going to campaign like in politics.
Even in constituencies with 1 list, the elections are being taken very seriously.
I have only 1 list from Kupemaningova, so it's a matter of now going to explain to my colleagues who form the electoral college so that we have an abundance of votes that day.
While waiting for the outcome of pre-electoral litigations, if any there will be, the representatives of traditional rulers have submitted 111 lists. The candidates are leaving nothing to chance as they prepare for what promises to be an exciting showdown.
In politics and education, the effective back to school in most parts of the country has been applauded by the People's Movement for Dialogue and Reconciliation. During a press briefing in Yaoundé today, Professor Shanda Thomas saluted the security measures taken by government, especially in the northwest and southwest regions. Here's an excerpt of his declaration.
In the northwest, in the southwest, in the far north, not all of them went back to school, as we know. But what has been done and what is being done give out really reason to say we can congratulate the government. What we are calling for now is, please, for all the politicians, for all the adults, please, we are already grown people. Most of us have grown children. There is no reason for us, it's not even honest actually, to be setting up, let's say, a situation that will impeach children to go back to school. We have no reasons. It's not honest for us to keep traumatizing all those children.
And to one of our top stories, the national airline carrier Camer will resume flights within the national territory as from Monday, the 12th of October. This good news was made known today at the press briefing in Douala, in the course of which the 144-seat Boeing 737, which will enable the airline begin operations, was presented. Veronica Benyala has the details.
This Boeing 737, rented from Ukraine, has a passenger capacity of 144 seats. The technical director of Cameco reassures the airworthiness of the aircraft.
We have been passing, through the development of a number of stages to make sure that the aircraft is safe and airworthy.
The director of operations at Cameco says they are beginning with local destinations.
You have to start with a very modest schedule, so people can get used to the fact that the airplane is back, that flights are back.
As concerns some of the customer service gaps that sometimes frustrates clients of Cameco, Captain Fcfa says they have learned from past mistakes.
And things have not been easy, and we had long time to prepare ourselves, and we have taken all the necessary measures to limit delays.
Two Cameco Boeing 737 in need of technical overhaul will soon add to the float to see the star of Cameroon shooting across the sky beyond the national territory.
In education, an e-learning system to facilitate studies in institutions of higher learning in Cameroon during the COVID-19 period has been put in place. At the University Coordination Commission session, presided over by the Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo, the techniques of application were unveiled. Ewane Pole tells us more.
The University Coordination Commission session brought together rectors of state universities and stakeholders of the higher education sector. During the forum, organized under the auspices of the Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Chancellor of Academic Orders, Professor Jacques Famendongo, the rectors presented their action plan for the upcoming academic year.
The University of Bamenda started online delivery of lectures 2 years ago. As you all know, we had a lot of challenges because of the socio-political crisis. So we started to work on our e-learning platform. And by doing so, we started gradually with online delivery of courses by email.
The University of Marwa, there are so many defenses that have been, let's say, run out through the video conference. And I think for us, we are already in the e-learning process.
The session, which comes on the eve of the start of the 2020-2021 academic year, scheduled on the 15th of October, is aimed at ensuring the success of students in Cameroon's higher institutions of learning amid the COVID-19 pandemic.
With the two-shift system instituted for government schools where enrollment exceeds 50 per class, daily schedules are being readjusted. For teachers like parents shuttling from one school to the other when their offspring have different timetables, it is a Herculean task. Gilbert Ongenetril, the working mother of 3 school-going children, and now tells us how she manages the new arrangement.
Dropping or picking up children in this corona context is more challenging for parents as they are preoccupied with concerns of security and punctuality. Since the start of the school year, this single mother is torn between work and the school program of her children.
The first shift is that they have to end the lessons at 12, and I have to rush there to go and take back the one I left in the morning. And I have to drop the others for the afternoon. Fortunately, my hierarchy is very comprehensive.
The children too feel where the shoe pinches.
We were getting up at 5 a.m., but now we are supposed to get up at 4 a.m. to drop out our younger brother.
The two-shift system, however, has its merits.
When we are in mom's office, sometimes we ask her questions, she helps us.
Like this lady, many parents in Yaoundé are adjusting their daily schedules to comply with the safety rules prescribed by government and the WHO to curb coronavirus infection rates.
In Momo Division, the People's Representative, Honorable Prudential Injo, has reached out to pupils with outstanding results in order to ease the start of the school year. During a visit to some schools in Bangui, she offered scholarships, donated didactic material and encouraged the parents and teachers to be committed to the success of the learners. Mercy Kusi has the details.
The start of a new school year is usually a very exciting period for learners, but the excitement is double for those students and pupils in Bangui, Momo Division of the Northwest, some of whom have not had this feeling in the past 4 years.
Us who have been stranded, we don't have things again, so I feel happy being in school today.
The Member of Parliament for Momo East and the authorities of the area made a stopover at schools in the subdivision, talking the pupils, students and teachers into the benefit of education.
I'm very impressed because the turnout is really encouraging. I took a commitment to pay the registration fees of the children in the schools within my constituency. Education is the key for development.
To ensure the children's safety while at school, the district medical officer for Bangui, Dr. Iwo David, sensitized them to COVID-19 and announced that regular screening of the virus will be carried out on all the school campuses.
Recreation period in both primary and secondary schools at a time when the coronavirus threatens lives has prompted school administrations to adopt new strategies. While parents are advised to provide snacks to their children, some schools have either completely banned the sale of food items on campus or subjected the traders to strict supervision. Elizabeth Mbomboneagbo reports on how this is done in the East region.
In an era marked by the coronavirus, the nutrition of pupils and kids at school remains a major preoccupation to education stakeholders and other partners in the domain in the East region. The American-based non-governmental organization Nascent Solutions, partnering with the poor, has introduced the homegrown feeding methods believed to be practical.
Among the many things that Nascent Solutions is doing to ensure that the literacy and the nutrition of school children gets improved is the provision of daily hot lunch.
This method, based on governance, has presented to the local administrative authorities, mayors, presidents of the Parents Teachers Association.
We appreciate this initiative because they help the region to improve the level of education of our young children.
Under the supervision of the teachers, it is believed it will go a long way to promote good hygienic and nutritional practices.
The United Nations Emergency Fund for Children, UNICEF, is concerned about ensuring that vulnerable and underprivileged groups have access to basic school material. In collaboration with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, the needy, internally displaced and refugee children received medical equipment from the fund. Ayokjan Ashu has the details.
Triennial Cooperation Program, the United Nations Children Emergency Fund, UNICEF, has been backing up the Cameroon government in her response to the educational needs of children in general, particularly those of Mayo Sava, Mayo Chanaga and Logona Shari divisions of the Far North region, affected by the security crisis masterminded by Boko Haram.
In this light, at the dawn of the 2020-2021 academic year, UNICEF came along with a variety of school materials and sanitary kits for schools within these 3 divisions.
Going to school is one of the rights of the children. It's one of the commitment of UNICEF to permit all the children to go to school, whether be they boys or girls, with handicap or without handicap, they must go to school. This is the contribution of the UNICEF to permit all these kind of children to go to schools.
On behalf of state authorities, the SGO for Mayo Sava, Florent Ribon Amunga, lauded the gesture of UNICEF and encouraged rational use.
Away from the back-to-school, rehabilitation works along Carrefour Ajip in the Mbopi neighborhood of Douala have been advancing satisfactorily. The deplorable state of the roads, which had been a nightmare to inhabitants, is today almost a thing of the past. Madame Kwele reports on the progress made.
It is a dream come true for these road users plying the Mbopi stretch of road in the Douala 2 subdivision. The area once considered a nightmare has received a facelift.
Leaving Carrefour Ajip passing towards Mbopi, one could stay on one spot for over 30 minutes. We had to climb on pavements, which caused much traffic jam and accidents.
Today, traffic has once again become fluid thanks to works carried out by the Douala City Council, making things easier for these road users.
If we could have such roads with pavements than the tar, it will be better and last longer. The road is well arranged.
And since all habits die hard, these recalcitrant individuals still ply on the wrong direction despite the ease in congestion. Some of them lay the blame on roadside vendors who, due to lack of places in the market, have to occupy public space, which in the end still results to some traffic jam. They are sending an appeal to government to see into this situation and rehabilitate other major axes of Douala in order to ease the rate of congestion on the roads.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
On COVID-19 and reproductive health, gynecologists say it is possible to avoid cross-infection during labor if a number of hygiene habits are developed by pregnant women who were infected with the coronavirus. But what exactly do we mean by cross-infection, and what is expected from these infected expectant mothers? Baldwin Sama and his guest, Professor Robinson Boo, provide highlights from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center. Hello, Baldwin. What exactly is cross-infection?
Good evening to you, Esther Kiman. Welcome. There are some details that some pregnant women, especially those who are tested positive for COVID-19, tend to neglect, especially that which concerns cross-infection, how they can possibly avoid infecting those around them with the virus. Cross-infection during labor, that is what we shall discuss tonight with our guest, Professor Robinson Boo, Assistant Gynecologist and Director of Family Health in the Ministry of Public Health. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening, Baldwin.
When we talk about cross-infection during labor, what exactly does it mean?
This is a situation where the healthcare provider can easily be infected. Because during labor, we usually come very close to the pregnant woman in labor with a system where we examine her every 30 minutes. And so in a situation where we have a woman who is in labor infected with COVID, we need to space out these visits. We need to reduce the number of times we are coming very closer to the pregnant woman to avoid what you call cross-contamination. It simply means contamination leaving from the infected person to the uninfected person. And that is very common during labor. Because during labor, as I told you, the midwife or the attending physician is very close to the woman, has to examine the woman every 30 minutes, has to look at the cervix every 2 hours or 4 hours. So in a case where you want to avoid cross-contamination is to reduce this number of face-to-face with the pregnant woman who is in labor.
and what exactly must be done in order to avoid a possibility of a cross-infection so as to that will pave the way for the virus to be spread?
First of all, there will be a multiplier effect if the doctor is infected or the midwife is infected. She can move to her home and infect everybody along the chain. So the woman who is attending to a pregnant woman in labor, it's for her to first of all protect herself with the personal protective equipment and then reduce her close-to-close face-to-face contact with the woman who's in labor. That's essentially what we do. So instead of examining her every 30 minutes, you can examine her every 4 hours until you see the woman trying to bear down. Then you can move very close to her to deliver her.
Thank you so much, Professor Robinson Bo. We remind our viewers that you are the Director of Family Health in the Ministry of Public Health. Pregnant women, those tested positive for COVID-19, should respect all these guidelines from the different gynecologists so as to avoid any possibility of cross-infection during labor. The appointment for next week, Wednesday, because Wednesdays are reserved for gynecology during this COVID-19 period, we remind our viewers that they should take the appointment next week, Wednesday, with Professor Robertson Bo. We talk about sexual activities during COVID-19 period. Back to you, Esther Kmer.
Ben Sama for specifying that cross-contamination is related to health givers, and we definitely don't want midwives getting infected with the coronavirus because they want to bring forth babies. Still in health, the Cantone Hospital in Douala will soon have renovated hospital buildings and lodging facilities for patients and health givers. The construction work is under the supervision of the director of the hospital, Professor Noel Esumba. Larry's Nane Porter reports on this, as well as the first General Assembly of the hospital.
This structural reform of the 90-year-old Cantone Hospital aims at restoring the blossom of the health facility, which reflects government's policy on public health in the coastal region and in Cameroon in general. For Professor Noel Esumba, director of the Cantone Hospital, it is now about a question of offering quality service in a sane environment.
The Cantone has always been criticized as a hospital with lack of professional ethics, so we are making efforts to ameliorate the structure and the behavior of our collaborators.
The technical platform has been considerably improved, and it is with confidence and pride that the manager talks about their vision. With more than 90 specialists and about 30 general practitioners, Cantone Hospital is standing the course of the policy of humanizing healthcare. However, some difficulties are born.
A project like this is dense, and it is normal to encounter difficulties. People always send patients to this hospital who are at the verge of dying after they must have tried other means. Cantone is always the last option.
After the first General Assembly of Cantone Hospital on September 18, significant changes like the renovated buildings and wards of the hospital are also perceptive, and more users are appreciative of the new reforms underway.
From health news to peace development, youth in Ebolova in the South region have been sensitized on the need to preserve peace. This comes following an observation on social media that many young Cameroonians are getting into hate speech debates, a phenomenon that is likely to ignite violence among young people. Bernice Atabong reports on the campaign.
The conference that has taken place in Ebolova is part of nationwide events organized by JAPABI to sensitize youths on the need to preserve peace and bar the way to vices like violence.
The youth of today is the Cameroon of tomorrow. Then if they don't preserve the peace, tomorrow they are going to be the loser.
According to the coordinator of the association, Steve Michel Akar, hate speech and tribalism have been flooding social media and inciting young persons to protest. In view, therefore, of helping youths in Cameroon to be more responsible, JAPABI has decided to encourage young Cameroonians to be promoters of peace, unity and dialogue. The youths who attended the conference also participated in a march aimed at promoting patriotism and tolerance. The march took them to the South Governor's office, where they were received by the Secretary General, Alexandre Lecan Guchemi.
On today's sad note, the Cameroon radio television CRTV is mourning one of its workers, Ramsina Bawa. The 59-year-old, before his demise today, was the head of Department of Personnel and hails from Yagua in Mayodonai Division. He is sorely missed and remembered for his assiduity at work. Gerard Nanji reports.
It was with shock and consternation that family members and colleagues of Ramsina Bawa, head of Department of Personnel at CRTV, received the news of his passing away this Wednesday, October 7, 2020, at the Yaoundé General Hospital after an illness. The family is inconsolable for the loss and wish it was a dream. Born on October 26, 1961 in Yagua, Mayodonai Division of the Far North Region, Ramsina Bawa, before his recruitment into CRTV, played for Canon and Tonel of Yaoundé. Described by colleagues as hardworking and dedicated person, he was due retirement next year. He leaves behind a wife, 4 children, family members and colleagues to mourn him.
May his soul rest in peace. And on that note, the Director General of CRTV, Charles Ndongo, announces with deep sorrow the death of Mr. Ramsina, Head of Department of Staff Administration in the Department of Human Resources and Social Strategy. He passed on this day, the 7th of October 2020, due to an illness. On this sorrowful occasion, the Director General, Charles Ndongo, on his behalf and on the behalf of CRTV staff, extends his heartfelt condolences to the bereaved family. We end this edition of the 7:30 News, in which you heard that accelerating the implementation of the decentralization process in Cameroon for emergence by 2035 was what the members of the National Decentralization Board were enjoined to do today by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute. More news comes up at 8:30 p.m. with Adon Bala. I'll be back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. God willing, for a better edition. Good night and thanks for watching. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing